Take a seat at the table with us. My name is Anthony Brinson.
My name is Pfeiffer.
I'm Brad LaPlante.
And I'm Luke Joseph.
And welcome back to the Sports Roundtable Podcast. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad PJ asked me to be back on. It was kind of, literally last minute. He was like, you want to be on? I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Sure. How y'all feeling?
I'm good. I've never been on this before, but I'm really excited to talk about the kind of four main topics today. You know, it's been a busy 2 weeks with sports, so yeah.
Yeah, it's a good idea to have the sports editor on the sports podcast. I think that goes well.
At least once, and I never even realized you hadn't been on before, so this is a pretty dope moment. Mm-hmm. We were talking a little bit before we get into the our topics today about spring break. You were mentioning that you're trying to travel a bit more around Michigan because you're not from Michigan. Mm-hmm. Where'd you, if you don't mind telling the audience where you're going to be at?
Okay, can I look at my email real quick?
Oh, absolutely.
I have it in my email.
Yeah.
Got to look up where he's going in his email. What a crazy guy.
Okay, Kingsford, Michigan.
Never even heard of it. Yeah, never heard of it.
I'm pretty sure it's in the UP. And then a couple of my roommates and I were going to be skiing at Pine Mountain for a few days.
That's pretty awesome,
That's
man.
pretty cool.
Luke, you said you'll be in Florida for a couple of days and then going back home?
Yeah, pretty much just visiting family in Florida, and then just it's going to be good getting back home to Philadelphia.
Are you from Florida?
No,
from Philly.
From Philadelphia.
Yeah.
My grandparents just live in Florida, so.
As most grandparents do.
Yeah, pretty much.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
How is Philly, if I could ask you real quick?
It's fun, man. Philly's a pretty lively town. They really care about their sports, obviously. It's a great place to be.
Understandable. And then, Brad, you doing anything for spring break?
Nope. I just went to North Carolina, so I am done.
Yeah, you mentioned, didn't have the, best time down there,
No, and I don't know if we want to get into why.
Yeah, just, maybe the food down there needs some touching up. But anyways, for our sports topic today, they were talking a bit off mic about hockey, about MSU hockey. So if we can go like to the left and then end it on Luke about what's been going on.
Yeah, so I am not obviously your MSU hockey reporter. That is Maddie's job. However, I am big fan of MSU hockey. Huge fan, actually. I don't know if you would say the biggest, but MSU hockey's been good. If you've been following the team at all for the last 4 years, you know that it went from literally the upward trajectory could not be more inclined. So MSU hired a new head coach about 2 years ago, and last year went almost, I want to say, from last place in the Big Ten all the way up to, well, it's not all the way. There's 7 teams. They went to 5th. But then in 2023-24, which is this season, they took a huge turn and really turned a corner. It's been a insane season. They won 3 out of 4 games against Michigan this season, which is something I don't think they've done since 2009. They haven't. I think they haven't won more games than lost against Michigan in quite a while. So it's been a good season. And Michigan, meanwhile, might miss the tournament this year.
Really?
So we are really just banking on Michigan's downfall at this point.
Yeah.
You know how they said that Michigan traded their basketball team for their football team? It seems like they also did their hockey team just to get the football team some success, because that is not looking good. But on the other hand, Michigan State could clinch. I think the biggest news of this all is really that Michigan State could clinch the Big Ten for the first time ever. This would be the first time that Michigan State clinches the Big Ten title in hockey since the conference became a hockey conference in 2013. So it's only been 10 years. But this would be the first time that that's ever happened. Michigan State came close. I think it was second place in 2015. But I think Minnesota won that year, if I'm right. And then Michigan State lost 2 straight games to Michigan in the Big Ten tournament. So that didn't end up well. But I hope I'm getting that right because I think that's what I remember. I'm not. I'm literally going off of what's on my head.
Anyway, you got an iPad right in front of you.
I do. That is correct. But I'm going to go with my gut. I think I'm going to go with my gut.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yes, Michigan State plays Wisconsin this weekend, and they can win the Big Ten title with a sweep of Ohio State. Did I say they play Wisconsin?
Yeah.
They play Ohio State.
Ohio
I'm
State.
sorry.
Good correction.
They play Ohio State this weekend. They can win with a sweep of Ohio State, and then Wisconsin, who's in second place, can win. Or I'm sorry, needs to lose one game. So if Penn State can beat them once, then it's game over. Michigan State does play Wisconsin next weekend. Michigan State has, I believe, it's a 5-point lead on.
I think 4.
Four?
Think so.
It went down to 4. So it's a 4-point lead of Wisconsin. But still, Michigan State would just need the sweep of Ohio State and a loss by Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So currently, Michigan State has 46 points in the Big Ten. Wisconsin has 42, and then Minnesota, who no one's really worried about, has 37. And then, so yeah, as Brad said, we're playing Wisconsin. Oh my God, I did the mistake too. We're playing Ohio State this upcoming weekend, then Wisconsin. Ohio State, I believe, is in last place in the Big Ten, so
Yeah, I
hopefully.
believe so, yeah.
And that's what's crazy because Michigan State, it was expected originally that this last series against Wisconsin, the one in next week, was going to be the deciding series in the Big Ten. It was going to be Wisconsin, Michigan State, which Wisconsin traditionally plays Michigan State at the end of the season. And this was going to be the lead up. And by the way, these teams were in the last half of the Big Ten last season. So this is an insane shift to see both teams. Wisconsin finished last place and Michigan State finished in 5th out of 7 teams. So now they're at the top half of the Big Ten. And yeah, it is a 4-point lead by Michigan State. And I don't even think because Wisconsin played Ohio State last weekend, and Ohio State beat them twice, one in overtime. So Wisconsin only got 1 point out of a possible 6, and it was suggested that Wisconsin would retake the lead of the conference, and then Michigan State would have to steal it back in the final series. But now it looks like Michigan State really has that upper hand.
Yeah. So then, if Michigan State finishes first, looking at the Big Ten tournament. Michigan State would get home court advantage because how the Big Ten tournament plays out, it's the higher seed gets home court advantage. So actually, we as in Michigan State, we would get a bye week. So we wouldn't even have to play any team for the first week. It's a best of 3 series, and then it would be the semifinals, I believe. So then we would play. I feel like it's either the 4 or 5 seed.
It's the lowest. Whoever's the lowest.
6 or 7.
Yeah, so whoever wins, that's the lowest seed.
Right.
So so if the 7 seed wins, that's the seed that they go play. Basically, they get reseeded, just like the NFL reseeds in the playoffs, right? Mm-hmm. How
Sure.
Yeah. So I think it's the only sport that still does reseeding, if I'm correct. But yeah, so 1 plays 7, 1 plays 7, 2 plays 7, 3 plays 6. You know what I'm saying? 4 plays 5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. So they do the same thing in the next round. So that's how it would work. But Michigan State would play the lowest seed. So if somehow Ohio State were to beat Wisconsin again, but this time in Wisconsin, then Michigan State would play in the semifinal against Wisconsin. It's only a one game thing. So
yeah.
But yeah, so that's how the money rolls for Michigan State, and it's going to be exciting. And it would also be interesting too, if perchance this actually happened, Michigan State would do it on senior night.
Oh,
so
wow.
That would be Sunday. I mean, not Sunday. Sorry, Saturday.
Nice.
That they would do that.
So, question just for clarification: you mentioned that MSU has to sweep Ohio State, and then Wisconsin has to lose one, right?
Yeah. So I'm not sure that the games would finish up to where by the time the Michigan State game ends on Saturday, they would know that. but shortly after they would. I'm not sure that it'll happen because, like I said, so Wisconsin's problem is that they play in Penn State. So, it's very hard in college hockey. You have to sweep teams is hard enough. I mean, Wisconsin's a good team, but to sweep a team on the road, that's kind of a tough task. So,
but it's also that's like to clinch their title next week or this upcoming week. Sorry, because the next week, it's Michigan State, Wisconsin. So
it's like whoever, right. So if Michigan State, is able to hold their lead and doesn't get swept by Wisconsin, they should next week have fine, pending a total impending collapse this weekend. But if things stand as they are, if the standings are as they are, like if Wisconsin and Michigan State both sweep their opponents this weekend, then Michigan State would just not need to be swept next weekend, essentially.
Okay, cool. Got anything to add, Luke?
I'm not the biggest hockey guy, but this year our hockey team has been so great, and it's been really exciting to kind of get more into hockey. And I have family members who have texted me, go to the game, you gotta go to the game. Like, we've never been this good before, and it's just an amazing experience to watch them. I believe we beat Michigan not last week, but the week before on the 10th. Yep. And that was just we beat them twice, and it was just amazing to watch.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of had U of M's number this year. And to kind of segue to basketball, I mean, we got hockey, women's basketball, and if you want to talk about men's basketball, we just recently beat them in Ann Arbor, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep.
So, yeah, take it away, PJ.
Oh, yeah. I believe it was a season sweep against
because we won here, and then...
Yeah. I actually looked this up, and because I wasn't sure how common this is. And apparently it happened super recently. But I was curious because I noticed, so Michigan State's men's basketball team swept an unbelievably weak Michigan basketball team, right? Yeah. Like, very bad team.
No shade to them.
Like,
no shade.
I know, and no shade to them. Like, I personally dislike when Michigan teams are necessarily bad, and I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion or not, because the problem I have is, like, if you beat a bad team, who gives a shit? Sorry, who cares?
I mean, you didn't. It is what it is. It is what it is.
Who really cares though?
Yeah.
Like, who? What's the point? I guess I would rather beat a team that's good, if that makes sense. Like, definitely. If a team's good, it means more to the rivalry, in my opinion. That's why, like, 2021 Michigan State football, that win was insane because that ruined Michigan's perfect season, right? Like, that was crazy. However, in this case, it doesn't really have the same mold. So anyway, my point is, I was curious if that happens a lot, where Michigan State's men's and women's basketball teams do a season sweep, like a clean sweep over the same season. And the last time it happened was 2019. Yep. So not that long ago. Actually.
Did you research what it was before that?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I didn't. I'm not that much of an investigative journalist, so I apologize. Yeah, not Alex. Sorry.
I mean, I don't know how. So, like, separately, men's basketball hasn't swept Michigan in one season since 2019. Separately, women's hasn't done the same either since 2019. Together, though, in a single season, I don't know when the last. Oh.
No, that was
2019. Yeah.
Oh, no. Kind of embarrassing by me. Okay, never mind.
Listen, you got to it. But based on, did you watch the game at all?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Based on watching the game, how did they get it done in Ann Arbor? Because I saw it was close at first. I didn't watch it, but I was like keeping up with the score. It was close at first, and then we ran on with it. So
for men's,
yeah.
It was like down to the wire from what I remember. Like, I feel like Luke here. You actually probably know more. Sorry.
So we got the win. I've been a little bit down on Michigan State men's basketball. Michigan, they're not very good. Like, they only have 8 wins on the season.
Oh, wow.
I was pretty disappointed, regardless of what the final score was. I don't think we should have been. I don't think it should have been as competitive as it was because of how bad Michigan basketball is right now. And we didn't pull away until about 7 minutes left in the game. There wasn't really much going on offensively. AJ, if I can pull up the stats, he didn't have his best game. He's been pretty up and down this whole season. And let me just try to get the statistics out here.
I will add real quick. I do know now that I'm remembering. So it was a tie game with 7 minutes and 1 second left in the game. And then we kept Michigan scoreless for the remaining.
Wow.
And we scored 10 points, I believe. So
okay.
Yeah, pretty crazy, I feel like.
Didn't MSU, I didn't actually watch this game, but didn't MSU actually get out to a better start than they did at home against Michigan?
It's a good question.
Like, I'm pretty sure, because I remember watching, did I
don't know about, no, I mean, it was.
Or was that a different game that
I think that's a different game. I mean, Michigan at one point was up.
No, because Michigan,
12,
at home, Michigan State was down at the half. 35-33.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure, Michigan was staying with Michigan State until they finally lost by like 19 points.
Did you find the...
That was the first game.
That was the first game, correct.
The
Yeah,
first game.
that's at home, correct.
Yeah, so the second game, I mean, the halftime score in the second game where we played in Ann Arbor, the halftime was only 39-37. I mean...
Michigan State was ahead at least.
They were ahead, but it's like, Michigan at that point in time, 8 wins. They're 3-12 in the conference. It's like, I think they would rather be up by 10, like what the final score was. And then even during the second half, they just didn't look as good. I mean, Madi Sissoko only played 7 minutes the entire game. Like, this whole season, he's just been kind of like unplayable. And there were reports that like he's got something going on like with family or something personal, and that's obviously none of our business to know. Like, that's just for him. But at the same time, it's just disappointing to kind of watch him play. And then AJ Hogarth only played 22 minutes against Michigan, couldn't make a basket, only went 2 of 7 with 6 points. Jaden Akins 3 of 10, 7 points, couldn't shoot a 3. Neither could Tyson Walker, only 1 of 5 from 3. And the only reliable person was Malik Hall. Like, Tyson Walker is, he's amazing. Like, he's gonna lead the team in points every single game. But from an efficient standpoint, Malik Hall 8 of 13, 18 points. He was probably our best player in that game.
So I got an interesting question for you then. So how would you personally draw the line or balance a win is still a win and then an underperforming win?
Look, this is still a win. Like, regardless, it's still going to be a win towards kind of seeding and stuff like that. But just for me, it's like I would rather kind of beat them in a game where I'm not biting my fingernails off. It's just like, I'd rather be up 10 the entire game and win by 10 rather than this kind of being like a back and forth. We're not making shots, they're not making shots, and then final 7 minutes or final 5 minutes, we pull away with the win.
Okay, that's understandable.
If that were to happen, I'd rather be against a team like an Illinois or like a Purdue or Wisconsin.
Okay.
Not a team that's as bad as Michigan.
So based on their performance against Michigan, where do you see them moving forward as far as like March Madness coming up and just the last few games of the season?
I think they can. I think they obviously, it doesn't help that they lost yesterday against Iowa at home.
Oh, really?
When they were a 9.5 favorite, I believe, or 10-point favorite. But I think they have enough quad 1 or quad 2 wins, whatever the NCAA metric is or whatever. I think we have enough to make the tournament. But
they definitely will make the tournament.
It is like, we have those losses against Arizona and Duke, and then earlier in the year we lost to James Madison, and then we lost to Nebraska in early Big Ten play. And, there's some real projections where we could be one of the kind of like one of those play-in teams, like one of those first 4 teams, where we have to play for a spot. So we could potentially be an 11th or even a 12th seed come March Madness.
Interesting. So if you were to give a prediction, if you've thought about it, where do you think MSU is going to end up as far as March Madness?
I would, based on what I've seen, probably 9 or 10. They don't, we were projected number 4 preseason, and we have not come close to playing like that, let alone a top 25 team.
Yeah, me, Deshaun, and Thomas talked about that a couple months ago or right before the season started of just how high the expectations were, and it does kind of seem underwhelming for them to like either barely be a playoff team or barely be a tournament team or not make the tournament or like just get there. So
yeah, I mean, this was arguably throughout all the talk this offseason or before the season started, this was potentially Coach Izzo's deepest team. I mean, he said it himself that we could go 11 or 10, 11 players deep. I mean, and then just seeing that we're not playing and then we're not playing as well as we should, it's just a huge disappointment.
do you see any reason why, or do y'all, if y'all, Brad or PJ, also have any thoughts as far as why they were so underwhelming this year? Or did it just happen?
Obviously, I think center, that big man, Madi's a pretty undersized guy. Every time he is on the court, he's just a complete non-factor offensively. Nobody on this team can really shoot. We don't have. I mean, Malik can kind of shoot, but he's not a Joey Hauser kind of guy where it's like he's a knockdown 3-point guy. I think we thought Jaden Akins could really take that next step because he was projected to be an NBA draft pick this year if he was going to play as well as he did last year, because we saw those flashes of how good he could be, and he still hasn't done that. I think it's been a little frustrating not seeing Xavier Booker out on the floor. I get it; he's a little skinny in that regard. He looks kind of like a toothpick out there, but
no disrespect,
no disrespect at all. But it's like, I would like to see him on the court because he's our only big man who can actually shoot or is willing to take shots.
I just want to add, I'm sorry for interrupting, but I want to get this point across because I sort of I agree with the fact that Sissoko's been an issue because, but at this point it's like, what can you do? I feel like Izzo also knows secret, kind of that it did not help him to not go to the portal. But we all know how Izzo feels about the portal, right? He's not a big fan. Or at least that's what I've heard.
He's not a big fan.
Not a big fan of the portal. So we know that. But again, like I said, what can you do at this point? If you just complain about that, there's not, it's not going to help you. I am just going to, I guess maybe this is the optimist in me, but I'm just taking a look at ESPN's current bracketology. And so if I only base this on, if I'm just using their model, which obviously it could be anything, right? So Michigan State would be projected as a 7 seed. So I actually think that's actually more realistic. 7, 8, or 9 is more in the realm that I can see them going at. However, I do think that this team, because their issue and maybe their blessing also is that they're really streaky. They do really well over courses of periods, and then they'll just really, really suck. They'll turn it on. But earlier this season, you saw how they played against some of the teams on neutral fields or neutral courts. Sorry, right. They would play in neutral arenas, and they would be they kind of felt comfortable or that they could do something. You kind of felt that they could go somewhere. However, now, but that's the thing. You get into March Madness, and that's kind of where it's at. It's at neutral court. And sure, losing the Iowa loss, very disappointing because that was at home. Yeah. You were double-digit favorite. Not great to lose to Iowa, especially since just I don't know what went wrong there because I was watching that game and I'm like, you should have won that game the whole time, and it's almost depressing to a point. But okay, look at this ESPN model. They have, so the way they project is Michigan State at 7, Mississippi State at 10. So that's who they would play. And so Mississippi State doesn't seem like a terrifying opponent, right? Then they go play Marquette, who would obviously, be predicted to win against Morehead State. So Marquette maybe a little bit more, sort of thing. I could see them losing that game, but that's like the thing. If you're projected if you get a 7 seed, you're going to play the 2 if you win. And then ahead of them would be either Alabama, High Point, Gonzaga, who's would be in the play-in. Gonzaga would be in the play-in, and then Texas Tech is in that bracket as well. So it's not like I could see them making it to the second, third, ish, sort of realm. Mm-hmm. But so that's the thing. I don't know. Like if they're streaky at that time, maybe they get it together. But now, it's just so hard to tell with this team.
Yeah, I was actually gonna kind of talk about that, Brad.
Yeah. I'm so sorry I interrupted you.
No, you're good. I just think this season they haven't been consistent with playing, like both as a team and individually, and I think there needs to be some more consistency. They have 4 more games until the Big Ten tournament, and like honestly, I wouldn't even be worrying about the March Madness tournament right now. I'd be worrying about the Big Ten tournament.
That's a good point.
Right now, they're fighting for skipping the first day of the tournament. Mm-hmm. It starts on March 13th, but like seeds like 10 and below, or maybe 9 and below, I think it's 10, play on the first day. So they're like fighting to not play that first day, and they're fighting to play March 14th for the first game. So I think they need to be more consistent these last 4 games and actually try to, bump up just like 1 or 2 more seeds until March 13th.
Well, with everything that's been building up between some of our struggles and even some of our victories that have became pretty close, it all leads to where we are now. And it may be a pretty underwhelming season, but there's still a lot of hope. And then, like Brad was saying, like we are MSU fans. We go to MSU, so we're going to have that hope, and we're always going to be watching. But I guess we'll see how the season ends.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
What's next on the agenda, PJ?
Do we all want to talk about women's basketball?
Sure, absolutely.
Their game against Michigan, we kind of talked about this briefly, but they won season sweep against Michigan for the first time since 2019. So just some stats about the game. Osman scored 16, Hagman scored 14, and Ariel scored 13. The women's team, they are just, in my opinion, they are like just so amazing. I think, Hagman is so consistent has been the entire season with scoring and just assists. So like offensively, she's been, a powerhouse. And I would say they're definitely more consistent than the men's team. Obviously, I don't want to like compare the 2 teams that much, but I think they've definitely been more consistent throughout the season.
Definitely.
And the game against Michigan, obviously the Michigan women's basketball, they're not in last place in the Big Ten. But the game was very back and forth, except for the second quarter where MSU kind of outscored them kind of a lot. It kind of built momentum going into halftime in the third quarter. But obviously MSU ended up winning 70-66. It was a really close game, but really great game. I was watching it on TV, and it went like down to the wire. I was like really nervous, but I'm so glad we got the win.
Yeah.
And then looking ahead, they're playing Purdue this weekend. I think it should be a pretty easy win because I'm pretty sure Purdue is last in the Big Ten. So we'll see what happens there.
12th in the Big Ten. I got it up.
Sorry.
However, I mean, it's still not that good.
Right.
And yeah, so that game's tonight. So we will it'll be in the past when this goes up.
That game actually starts in 5 minutes.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I mean, if they get up to a good start while we're recording, I mean, and currently we're watching live at the Sports Roundtable. But
you know what's crazy is that their women's basketball team isn't very. I mean, I guess it's not surprising. I mean, I guess the disparity between their. When I think of Purdue men's basketball, I just think that they're just dominating. But then obviously their women's team's a little bit more like iffy. Yeah. Which by the way, Purdue's men's team, you want to hear a hot take?
Ready? Sure.
I think, and this might be too hot, but I think Purdue is going to go farther than people expect this season in the NCAA tournament. In the NCAA tournament, a lot of people, isn't that the joke? That's the joke, is that Purdue's like the laughing stock of the Big Ten. They dominate the Big Ten and they do all this stuff, and then they just like are out by the first round in the NCAA tournament. Like they have no playoff aspirations at all.
For me, I do laugh at the fact that, the last 3 seasons, Purdue has gotten bounced out in the first 2 rounds, I think. And then last year they were the 1 seed, and then they lost in the first round. That's only the second time that's ever happened. But I just think, I think everybody's going to be like, okay, there's no way Purdue, loses in the first round.
Good.
Or they're way too good. Zach Edey's he's been the best player in college basketball this whole season. You could argue R.J. Davis from North Carolina, or I believe the guard from Tennessee, or small forward. I forget which position he plays, but he's just been amazing. I just think Purdue's way too good to lose again. Plus, their freshman backcourt from last year. Obviously, they're both sophomores now. They know what losing is in March Madness, and so I think they're going to be more prepared for March Madness when that comes around.
Going back to March Madness, we talked about the men's aspirations on their end for March Madness and just the expectation versus the potential reality. What about the women's basketball team as far as how they're looking for March Madness?
I don't know what seed they're going to be, to be honest. I definitely think they're going to make it. But this is kind of straying away from MSU. But I'm so excited to watch this tournament, this March Madness, for Caitlin Clark.
It was on my mind. It was the next question.
Yeah. She's just, oh my God, she's such an amazing player.
You think she's bringing it home this year?
I think so. I think she's gonna. I mean, first of all, she's gonna make history in the next few days. She's going to break the men's scoring record.
Oh, wow. I know she broke the women's with that 3, which is crazy way to break that record.
Half-court shot.
Man, it was a little past half-court. But no hate.
According to the and like I said, we don't really have any hard numbers, between, we can't predict a seed or whatever. But ESPN's projection does have them as a 7 seed in the Portland, in the Portland regional. So
Portland.
Yeah, in Portland region.
Oh, who'd they be playing?
They would be playing. I'm sorry, they would be playing Tennessee. Okay. Like I said, these are just predictions, and they don't mean anything. But 7 seed is kind of
It would definitely be a tall task for Michigan State to obviously make it to a Sweet 16, more or less win the entire thing. But I think Iowa's a really good team, and then my favorite is South Carolina. I believe they're undefeated. They have the best head coach. I believe in women's basketball in general. They're so good.
They are. Yeah. Sorry, no, you.
No, you first, good sir.
Did you get? Wait 1 second. Did you get excited about Portland because you're not from Oregon?
I'm not from Oregon.
I met somebody that was from Oregon, and I forget if it was you.
Someone from my hometown. They play for Portland, the women's basketball team. So I was gonna be like, oh my God.
Then you're like, heck yeah. Okay.
Text them real quick, but yeah.
No.
Never mind. Yeah.
No, not the same.
Yeah.
No.
But,
You're about to say something?
Oh, I was going to say I really like the South Carolina coach, but also the Stanford coach. I forget her name. but she just broke. She kind of recently she broke the record for most wins. She broke Coach K's record for most wins by a coach. Yeah, of all time. She's been with Stanford for so long, but like not as long as you'd expect. It's just Stanford is so good that they rack up so many wins per season. But yeah, but you can go.
I was just gonna say something pretty similar, and I was just gonna mention that. Do y'all think Caitlin Clark and Iowa are good enough comparing up against Stanford or South Carolina?
I think they are. Yeah, I think it's gonna be probably. I think it's if they play each other, I think it'll be one of the most watched games in history.
Definitely.
And one of the most exciting. They're just
How are the reigning champs this year? LSU, how they doing? Like skill wise,
they're still a contender. I know they were, I believe, the #1 team coming into this year.
Yeah,
I know early on it took a little while for them to get their groove. They're currently 9-3 in SEC play, just behind South Carolina. But regardless of how they started, it's about how you finish. And I mean, they got Angel Reese, and who's I believe a top 10 pick in the women's NBA draft. She's just a special talent. And then I believe Haley Van, I forget her last name, but she's a really good player. They just have way too much talent to be overlooked.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of college sports, I don't know, do you guys keep up with incoming like high school people going into college?
Yeah.
Like, do y'all know who Cooper Flagg is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw he signed with Duke, and could somebody tell me like what's the story behind him? Because apparently he's hated, and like him going to Duke is him playing the villain. I've barely even seen clips of him.
He's a special high school talent.
Like, is he nice for real?
He's nice for real.
Okay.
I mean, he's an amazing defender. He can shoot the three. He's pretty everywhere on the court. He is everywhere on the court. He can guard the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He can guard every single position.
Guard the 5.
Yeah, he can guard the 5.
Is this a forward?
Yeah, he's a forward.
Oh, okay. Because I only know his name, and then apparently he's hated for some reason.
I don't know why he's hated. I think he's just hated because he's so good. I think I think he's gonna be an amazing college basketball player. I think he's gonna be an amazing NBA player when he goes to the NBA. He's an amazing player to watch. There's nothing more I could say that hasn't already been said.
Do you think he's NBA ready now?
Yeah, I
really?
think so.
Wow, that's
I think
impressive.
There's, obviously with the NBA, you have to go to school for 1 year. I think it should be, if you're good enough, you should be able to go to the NBA from high school. I do think he is one of those players where I could see him going to the NBA straight from high school. I do think he's that special.
So I know, PJ, I think you were about to say something. Just one more question. I guess I can ask all of y'all, but more specifically, Luke. Is he like #1 draft pick level?
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta check this guy out. Then. Hey, shout out Cooper Flagg and Duke. Yeah. But it seemed like Duke always getting the good players. Yeah. But were you about to say something, PJ?
Oh no, I never heard of him. So this is all new information.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I just did a Google search. This YouTube video. Why Cooper Flagg is a certified fraud.
Is that B Souls?
Yeah.
Shout out my guy. I didn't watch the video, but I saw that thumbnail. Remember the title because I meant to watch it. Because I'm like, who is the guy?
Nah, Cooper Flagg is the real deal. You just watch him play. I've never gotten to watch him play in person because he plays down in Montverde Academy down in Florida. But just watching kind of his games like on ESPN Plus. I mean, if he's getting coverage time on ESPN, he's pretty special player. I think he's one of the best prospects in high school since LeBron James or Anthony Davis. I think he's that special.
That's big credit to give him. So
I'm a big Cooper Flagg fan.
Which I'm glad somebody here was. I'm like
he even though he's going to Duke, I would have rather him gone to Connecticut. I know my cousin goes to Connecticut. He really wanted him there. Plus, he's from Maine, like he's from that area. It would have been nice, hometown hero type of vibes. But he had a relationship with John Shire, who's the Duke head coach now. So,
Oh wow, Krzyzewski isn't the coach no more, is he?
No, he's been
Wow.
retired.
I feel old. But yeah, shout out to Cooper Flag. And to kind of segue into NBA, because I know we're probably going to touch on the All-Star game, do you have any opinions on Bronny James with his college career so far? Because it's pretty evident, like, he's most likely going to go to NBA just off name alone, and then LeBron. So how do you...
I think he'd be a decent NBA player. I would like for him to stay another year because I do think I think he, regardless of his last name, I do think if he wasn't LeBron James' son, he'd be good enough to be an NBA player.
Okay.
I don't know if he would be a star or kind of like that franchise guy, but I do think he's going to be a pretty good NBA player for years to come.
Okay. I had saw a meme or a tweet somewhere that was like, imagine he goes to Detroit and then LeBron come to Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, if Detroit got Bronny James, you guys should not be mad at that.
I mean, I'm a LeBron. LeBron's my favorite player. So if LeBron coming to the city, I mean, I'm going to be at them games all the time. Right. But to segue into All-Star Weekend, I got thoughts about it. I didn't actually watch none of All-Star Weekend. I'd be busy. As y'all see from us recording, we be busy. But I've obviously aware about it, and then I've heard all the backlash. But do y'all got some thoughts about it?
I would say just like, I think the coolest and the highlight of the weekend was the Steph versus Sabrina 3-point competition. Mm-hmm. There's always going to be people that hate on it just because Sabrina is a woman and she's in the WNBA. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh my God, like, this woman thinks that she can like go up against Steph Curry. Like,
people are so weird. I was gonna call one of the announcers out, but I ain't gonna do it. But people are weird. Uh-huh. That's all I'm saying. But anyways,
right. But it's like, yeah, she can go against him, and she almost beat him. Like, it was a great competition.
She had, other than Curry, had the highest score. Yeah. Like of everybody, she had 26.
Yeah, she would have been in the final if she participated in the actual 3-point competition.
Yeah, and it was like, people also have to realize that this is benefiting the NBA and the WNBA, and like, since this, I mean, obviously there have been positives that have come out of this, and people are like, oh, well, it should be like Steph Curry and Damian Lillard versus like Sabrina and like Caitlin Clark or something like that, mm-hmm. for next year. And I think this really, you should only think of the positives about this. It was a great competition. Money went to charity because both of them have nonprofit foundations. Mm-hmm. So I think it was a really cool aspect of the All-Star Weekend. It was the brand new. So I really loved it.
I mean, yeah, it was. I mean, she was shooting from NBA 3-point range. Mm-hmm. It wasn't even women's 3-point range. It was the men's, and she's just a bucket. She's arguably one of the best players in women's basketball, arguably the best player in women's basketball. I think she's really good. I believe she's in her second year in the women's WNBA, excuse me. But I mean, she's going to be here for a while. And then obviously Caitlin Clark. And then shout out Juju Watkins at USC. She's a freshman in women's college basketball, and she's going to be the next Caitlin Clark.
That's a big name.
She put up 51 points, I believe, against number 10 Stanford.
Man.
So, as a freshman.
And you mentioned it, PJ, while you were talking. This is just incredible for both parties, especially the WNBA, because I wasn't familiar with the young lady Sabrina before she played against Steph, and then now I'm aware of her, Angel Reese, Juju Watkins, Caitlin Clark. Like, it's a lot of big things coming to the WNBA, and it may finally bridge that gap of people who don't really like tune into the WNBA because like they're certified buckets. Like regardless of NBA, WNBA, there's just talent all around. And to give my personal thoughts about All-Star Weekend, so I got a pretty hot take as far as the All-Star game specifically, because a lot of people say like, oh, it's not competitive, and I wish it was this. Especially with the addition of like 65 game rules, NBA players are at their peak, or they're supposed to be at their peak every day. Get them a weekend of rest. Like, it's funny to me. We're like seeing like Jokic and Luka, or like somebody tried to throw Jokic a lob, and he was not going for it. Like, it was funny. The West All-Star team was so stacked, but I saw a tweet that said the East got all the tryhards, so they gonna win by like 20 points, and then they actually won by a few points. So I'm I would obviously love for it to be pretty competitive, but like my favorite years of the All-Star game was when they joke around for the 3 quarters, and if it's close, like really try in the 4th quarter. I feel like that's a perfect balance of the All-Star game because we expect them to try hard, especially with the new 65 game rule and not being able to low manage every game of the season. So I feel like it should be it shouldn't be a requirement for them to try harder.
Yeah.
And then as far as the rest of the weekend, it don't hit the same for me. All-Star weekend, like I said, I didn't watch it and I was busy, but I didn't make like an effort to watch it because as far as the dunk contest, I mean, at this point, most dunks have been done, at least by NBA players. Most dunks that have been done are going to be done or that have already been done. We're not going to find no new ones. Just since I'm talking about the All-Star weekend, look at the camera. Aaron Gordon got robbed twice by Zach LaVine. But shout out LaVine though. But that man sat down in the air over a mascot and didn't win the dunk.
Never forget.
But speaking of which, I don't know if y'all saw Shannon Sharp. He was talking to Stephen A. on First Take about Jaylen Brown's dunk over Kai Cenat and talking about how like Kai Cenat is already pretty short and he had him sit in a chair and then dunked over him if that was just going to be impressive. It's like, we struggling.
Did you see there was apparently a petition to not allow Jaylen Brown to ever enter the dunk contest, ever.
That's
they
so
were
mean.
Booing him.
Yeah, it was. It was bad. And like, I at least appreciate Jaylen Brown for being. Somebody called him a superstar. I don't know if it's a hot take. He's not a superstar, but a star level player.
He's definitely a star level player
in the dunk contest.
I don't know if he's worthy of that huge contract. I think he's definitely worthy of getting his bag, but I don't know. $65 million.
I mean, I ain't go pocket watch, so as far if the Celtics got it and they feel he worthy, then I don't care about that.
I'm not blaming him for taking that money.
Right, but just the Celtics, that's a whole other thing. Celtics need to get it done sooner rather than later. But if I could ask, I know, Brad, you say you're not really too familiar with NBA, are you? So just so I won't make sure I won't leave you out.
I mean, I watch it. I don't really partake in the opinions of the sport like I do other sports.
Understandable.
Guess,
Yeah.
So I guess I could ask Luke and PJ, do y'all have any ideas on how to improve All-Star Weekend? Because one of the big things.
I have some ideas.
Oh, okay, bet. Everybody can get some ideas. So I started off, and then we could go in a circle. What you about to say?
Sure. You can go first, Brad, if you want to.
Yeah, get rid of it.
Oh yeah, he said this earlier.
Okay, all right, yeah, he had a heck of a take earlier. So go ahead, Brad, talk about it.
I'm not actually advocating for this. Because I don't think it'll happen. Like the All-Star games and the weekends, whether it's the NHL, if you're not familiar with, because I'm a big hockey fan, as everybody might know. But there was a big controversy in the NHL All-Star game too, which happened in January. And because one of the best players in the league, I think it was Kucherov, basically it was in the skills competition. I think he was just winging it, it was literally the passing skills competition, and it's one of the easiest skills competitions you could be in. And you just have to pass it through these cones or whatever, and you get a certain amount of points. And he was just just lollygagging, shooting the puck, not it's another Tuesday or whatever. And the fans actually ended up booing him because he just wasn't trying, and because they were mad that they came to see the Toronto fans they came to see a team, players to play their best, and he ended up just winging it. So I guess my point is that this happens in every sport. You see a ton of players. I think the only real sport that I haven't really seen it affect this too much is baseball. But even then, there's a superstition in baseball where the home run derby will compromise your swing. Yeah. But Pete Alonso has proven that that's not actually the case. He's won 3 of the things or whatever. But anyway, so yeah, I think that I would say that some sports you could argue to get rid of it. I'm not saying the NBA is one. I won't be that bold. But I will say that I think that different things need to be done, I guess. I don't know if you guys had any of these ideas. I heard Luke talking about one earlier. Yeah. And what was your idea?
So my idea was basically you can still have the All-Star game, just make it, shorter. Just have instead of 12-minute quarters, just make it 5-minute quarters. I think a lot of thing with fans is I believe the East scored over 200 points.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's no defense being played, whereas it's with 5 minutes, on 5-minute quarters, a 20-minute game, everybody's going to be not as gassed, or if they were to play like a regular game, you can still play, you can still kind of like play, kind of not as hard as like a regular season game, but you can still give enough effort as to where it's like, okay, we can have fun watching the game, have fun playing and stuff like that. And then for the slam dunk competition, my idea was pretty much, there's a lot of people out in the world who can dunk. We've seen a bunch of internet videos of just people doing insane dunks, and my idea was kind of just like, have a player sponsor one of these guys or go out and find one of these guys, and then the person that they get, they'll get a bunch of notoriety on social media, and then they'll make a bunch of money that way, along with, if they win, maybe a cash prize or something like that. I think it'd be really cool. Just kind of seeing like a no-name type guy. Well, maybe not a no-name type guy, but somebody kind of, off the street who is known to be able to dunk. I think that'd be a really cool way to kind of make the slam dunk competition fun again.
Do they still do the celebrity game?
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
do people watch it?
I did.
yeah.
I'm just curious. I'm just thinking of ways of things that the other leagues do that are kind of cool, and what they could possibly do to make it better. Like because I was gonna say the celebrity softball game that the MLB has is pretty fun. However, what I don't like is they've stopped like airing it, like, or telling people about where it is. Like, I think last year they put it on TV, but it was like on after the event had already happened or something, or at least that's when I found it. They didn't really message it to the right people or something like that. So there, but I guess so. If the NBA has that's kind of cool. I was also thinking, like, what if they did like a street, I don't know, like instead
Kind
of
of like street basketball.
1v1 or like
3v3.
3v3.
Yeah, I'm thinking like 3v3, like not even, and this is gonna sound bold, but not even a real game. Like,
just like a regular, kind of like a pickup
I mean,
game.
if they're not gonna try anyway, just like screw it, just put
I see
it.
what you mean.
Yeah.
Like, that would be kind of cool, like just a casual game.
I feel like it should be way easier than the NBA at least makes it seems to fix All-Star Weekend.
Yeah.
Either I'll go try it in like dunk contest, for example. I'd either do one of two things: either your idea, have people instead of NBA players, like people around the world or fans do it, or just remove it entirely and replace it with a one-on-one tournament. I genuinely don't understand why this isn't a part of All-Star Weekend yet. Like, you could just imagine like Kyrie versus Steph, LeBron versus if Kobe was still alive, Kobe during that time, and just like that'd be an awesome thing. And that's I've seen that idea for years. But so I'd either, whether you take away dunk contest or not, I'd add a one-on-one tournament, and then with the 3-point contest, keep doing what they did with like Steph versus Sabrina, or if they put Caitlin Clark and all that. 3-point contest, I feel like it's fine. And I feel like they should do a really cool thing with bringing in like 2K YouTubers or basketball content creators to like do commentary instead of like the typical people that do commentary. And then with the All-Star game, so I just thought this idea while y'all were talking, if they mixed the All-Star game and the celebrity game together, like just imagine like Kai Cenat playing, or matter of fact, Flight Reacts playing with Steph Curry on the same court. That would be entertainment. Or even if they keep the All-Star game the same, shorten it maybe, and then have different judges. Like, I feel like it's way easier than they like it should really be. Like, if you just think about it, like, these are just ideas we thinking off the top of our head. Some people, the 1v1 tournament thing has been an idea for years. And even with the 1v1 tournament, for example, I feel like a big thing they could start doing more is more fan engagement. Like, have fans play NBA players, or like NBA YouTubers who like play basketball, play NBA players
Just
to show
to
like
get the fans involved.
and like to show the difference between like an NBA player or like a content creator, or have like Brad's idea pickup game, how they do like, you know how the NBA players be going to like those like random gyms and be hooping, like something like that for the All-Star Weekend. I feel like it's one of those situations where some people criticize, I don't know if y'all have heard people criticize like Madden and 2K for being like the same game, or they like since they know people are gonna buy it anyway, they don't put much effort into it. I feel like that's kind of what it is with All-Star Weekend. Like regardless, people go be there, so they don't really like change it much, and they're just finally starting to throw some little things in there, like the 3-point Steph and Sabrina or stuff like that.
I mean, if I will say, shout out Adam Silver, because regardless of the All-Star Weekend or whatever, at least like they're trying to, they recognize that it's not doing as well, and they want to fix it. Whereas like with some other commissioners, the NFL commissioner, MLB commissioner, they kind of seem like that. They don't really care as much compared to, Adam Silver, where he's like, all right, this is obviously a problem. We have to address this. But piggybacking on what Brad said, if they did a 3v3 game, like pickup game in like Dykeman, which is in New York City, it's a really famous basketball court. If they did a 3-on-3 in that setting, or like if they did it in Los Angeles, where they have the basketball courts like along the coast or beach side, that would definitely be an insane watch if you were a fan. I think that would definitely get fans more involved in being able to watch them.
And then put some more bread on the line. Like, I feel people always say, like, oh, these guys are rich. They don't need, like, we say how they play for the in-season tournament. Yeah. They play hard. You know why? Because people's getting $500,000 per person on the team. So put, like, $10 million on the line, or however much is in the budget to afford like extra money. Because I think I saw a tweet, I didn't do research to confirm it, but NBA players are talking behind the scenes on wanting more money for the All-Star game. Because the big issue here is, like, you can't force somebody to do something they don't want to do. Like, again, I love LeBron James, but I question why he's never been in the dunk contest. It's probably because he just never wanted to do it. So if NBA players are out there and they want to chill for the All-Star game, they're going to chill for the All-Star game. So either do our ideas or put some more money on the line. I feel like these problems could be easily solved.
You know what, real quick, you know what the NHL does for the All-Star game?
Nope.
For the All-Star weekend? So they have like a regular All-Star weekend. This year's was actually kind of cool. They had like the regular skills competitions and things like that, fastest skater. But you know what they did is they had, and I think this is new, because I haven't been paying attention too much to the All-Star games like in the NHL, because I just never cared. But they had a mascot game. Like the mascots play each other.
Oh, that'd be cool if the NBA did something like that.
And
that's funny.
I mean, I don't know if that it works with it. Well, it might work. But like the NHL video games have always had, like since I remember, have always had mascots in the games, and you could actually play as the mascots and like and whatever.
Yeah. Or like, hear me out. Y'all know what the Masked Singer is, right?
Yeah.
Where they like in the costumes and they guess singer. So imagine it's a mascot game, but like you trying to guess who's the NBA player, or like they do certain contests you trying to guess like who it is. Like you can make it fun, but
they also had a mascot dodgeball competition.
Oh, that is awesome.
That's really cool.
It's just random. It's not hockey, but it's like the NHL mascots are playing each other in dodgeball. Like it's crazy.
And I mean, no disrespect to NHL mascots, but I think NBA mascots are pretty more well known. I don't know how well.
I mean, they are just because basketball is more popular sport.
I mean,
although to be fair, I don't know any basketball mascots.
I mean, who wouldn't want to watch Benny the Bull versus Rocky, which is the Denver Nuggets mascot?
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want to watch them play dodgeball? I mean, we see Benny the Bull all the time at Bulls games. He, has a big thing of popcorn. He always goes in the stands, and then he accidentally, spills it all over fans. I mean, it's just a fun time being with the mascot. So who wouldn't want to watch a mascot play dodgeball?
And then even with that, like All-Star Weekend, like we clearly see them play basketball all the time. If we threw something else in there, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing of like dodgeball or
kind of like do what the Pro Bowl did.
What they do?
They don't have an actual game like the NFL. They don't have an actual game anymore because they realize that fans don't really care watching it because I mean they're not going to want to tackle people for something like that. So what they did is they have little events. They have like their own kind of skills competition. They have like a dodgeball event, and then they have a flag football.
I'm aware of it.
Which is, I think it's like 7-on-7, something like that. So.
And then they could even collab like the Big Three, Ice Cube's league. I'm pretty sure it's Ice Cube's league of like the legends. Like put Jordan and LeBron. We can finally see Jordan, LeBron, or something like that. Like it's a lot of ideas they could do, but We've talked about it a lot on this episode. Is there anything else on the agenda, PJ, to hit on the mic real quick?
I think we're good. Yeah, I think that was it.
Right. Well, I really appreciate both of you two specifically, especially PJ. This is your first time being on Sports Roundtable, and then asking me to be on it, and Brad giving his thoughts on everything as well. And with that being said, this has been the Sports Roundtable podcast with myself, Anthony Brinson,
Luke Joseph,
PJ Pfeiffer,
Brad LaPlante.
and I hope you guys take a seat with us next time. Thank you.